So in today's session, in today's video, in today's market analysis, what we'll be looking at is breaking down that big move we saw this morning on the yen, where speculation for further rate hikes is leading some strength or was leading some strength on the yen. And also, we'll be preparing for what's going to come up or what could come up with the US CPI to be released. And for all the elite navigators, please remember I have scheduled the live trading session for you guys tonight, 8 p.m. GMT plus 8 will be starting. I look forward to seeing you there. All right, but first, alrighty, good morning. Hey Spiros, how are you doing? Um, Diana, I have actually sent you the EA, or not EA, the indicator for the TSRI MACD on a TradingView. I have sent it to you as well. I just have your nickname there, so I remembered and I said that. So you can check that out. Yes, that is also another perk for looking at the wrong camera. That one, right? There is also another perk for the elite navigators. Any indicators that I build and develop and I share, you will get that as well. I am building more educational content for you guys. I'm building um, indicators on TradingView for you guys, strategies. We will have live trading sessions. You get a little badge as well on your comments. A whole bunch of perks on the Elite Navigator. I'm thinking of more. So if you have any suggestions, do put it into the chat. And I'll put it in the feedback, I'll put it in the chat and let me know as well. What do you want? What do you need? If I can do it, I'll do it for you guys. I just want to make sure that I can help you through this whole trading journey and get you trading more profitably, right? And we've seen that for a lot of members already. Okay, so again, if you have any questions at any point in time, please feel free put into the chat and let me know. And like the usual drill, you can help me out massively by remembering to click on that like and subscribe button. If you're watching this after the live stream, leave a comment, leave a feedback, ask questions. I'll be happy to address those questions as well. All right. Good morning, Jew Mariners. How are you doing? Hey, AYJ, good to see you. Good morning. Now, what has happened? What has happened this morning and last night? Firstly, this morning we had our Discord group. We saw the yen. I'll show you the yen first. We saw the yen go this morning at 9 a.m. my time, was 142.28 within the hour. 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours went down to as low as 140.90. It went as low as 140.70 before now retracing back up a little bit. So that was let me see, that was a good 150 pip, almost 160 pip move to the downside on the US yen, strengthening of the yen basically because of what we saw of the headliners from the BOJ. Where was it? There we go. BOJ Nakagawa. Yeah, Nakagawa, a member from the BOJ, said to adjust easing level if outlook fulfilled. Sees real rates at a very low level. Suggests that the BOJ may review plans to cut JGBs, Japanese government bond purchases at meetings. So a whole tightening process, anticipation of a tightening process for the coming from the BOJ, right? Where we're talking about rate hikes to come from the BOJ if the conditions are right, and also a cut in the JGB purchases, so a cut down, a reduction in supply. So that's why tightening of interest rates, reduction of supply of money supply in the markets, strengthening of the yen, and that's why we saw the US yen push down at 150 pips to the downside. Did I catch that? No, I didn't. I was in the gym at that point. So I was getting messages on Discord. I was like, oh, I'm missing this move. Uh, I would use that as an excuse not to go back to the gym again. But it happens. We can't always catch every move. But if you look at this, I know I'm moving ahead. If you look at this whole area, the yen is actually still within this area. Okay, so just watch out. Don't rush into that trade, or don't rush too much into the anticipation yet. Now, that was what happened this morning with the BOJ and their talk about interest rate hikes and their talk about possible reduction in JGB purchases. Talk, no action yet. All right. Then just an hour ago, we did have the UK GDP month on month being released. It was a zero. It was expected to go to a 0.2. I was anticipating that 0.2 as well, but it came out at a zero. So kept flat on the GDP for the UK. And as a result of that, you would have seen the pound dollar reversing down from that 1.31 level back down again. Okay, so pound dollar did pretty much as we had expected. It sat there, 1.31 push. We were thinking either it's going to come down a little bit and push up. That didn't happen. All right, we take that away for now. You see that sit there, push down towards the support, bounce off the support back up to 1.31. Moving exactly as planned. I was anticipating a push higher with the GDP. Didn't happen, so it's coming back down again. We'll go into more detail on that later on. So that was what happened with the just an hour ago on the UK GDP. What happened a couple of hours ago on the BOJ decision or talks, right? And we had the US presidential nomination debate or candidate debate earlier this morning as well. I haven't watched it. Again, I haven't watched it. I haven't got any develop any views on it yet because I haven't watched it. What I'm intending to do is go look through it. I don't, from my previous analysis of the different elections, they, whatever the result, they do just have a short-term impact. The longer-term impact on the dollar is not so much of who is president, but what's happening in the markets. That's an overall systemic view, right? So not so much about president, but more about the markets itself. Now, with all that said, through last night, we didn't see too much in terms of news, in terms of price movement. Didn't do too much as well. The only thing next up we have was gold climbing very nicely to the upside. Okay, so any questions on what has happened so far, do put it to the chat and let me know. You're most welcome there, Jimmy. No worries about the indicator. I hope you use it. We also have a channel on Discord to guide you through, anything that I find interesting on the TSRI MACD using that method. Good morning, Angel Case. How are you doing? Hey, Lindy. Hope you're well. Okay, now with all that said, let's get into it. Dollar index. Okay, dollar index, yesterday we were right at this, yesterday, Tuesday, we were right at this, wait, H1. There, now it makes more sense. We're right at this point here, right? And I thought that it was going to push up towards that 102 level. And then remember, if you looked at it, if you looked at the video from last week, We've been waiting or looking for it to go up towards 102. So I had that arrow for it to go up towards 102. And then after it goes up to 102, I wanted to see it come all the way back down to 100.55. All right. It didn't go as high as I expected. It went up and it sat around that. So it didn't get to that 102 level. Okay, so that question mark was the question we're going to answer for today. It set and it consolidated slightly along this 101.60 and 101.75 level. Consolidated and then started to push down. As it pushed down, and this was from this morning because of the yen gaining strength, so the dollar in relation lost ground, lost strength. It pushed to the downside. It came as low as 101.25. Now we're looking at what could happen from this point. I forgot one thing. Tonight, like I was just saying earlier, tonight we have the US CPI to be released, right? Tonight we have the US CPI to be released. It was 2.9. It's expected to come out at 2.5. This is CPI year on year. CPI month to month 2.2, 0.2, 0.2, no change. Core CPI 0.2, 0.2. So no change expected here on a month to month. But we're thinking that we might see a more significant drop on the year on year CPI, right? And you can see that it's gone from in June 3.4 to 3.3, 3.3 to 3 to 2.9. Now looking to go from a 2.9 to a 2.5. If we do see the US CPI coming out at a 2.5, it looks like a big drop. It looks like it's going to be a big drop. But if it does come out at a 2.5, then you look at the CME Fed Watch tool again, you see that it's gone. Yesterday was a 73%, right? It was a 73% yesterday. It's dropped down to a 65 and a 35 basis point, 35% for a 50 basis point rate cut. It's undecided, all right? So what I'm actually thinking here is that if the US CPI comes out at 2.5 or lower, right? 2.5 or lower, then we're likely to see the chance of a 25 basis point rate cut increase, because it's getting towards its 2% target level, right? So no need to go too crazy and cut rates too massively. But if we see it at above 2.5, we might actually consider, or they might actually see a bigger rate cut, a percentage increase on a bigger rate cut, right? Ultimately, I think that the number here at 2.5, below 2.5 or above 2.5, for now, we're still likely to see a little bit of a push to the downside on the dollar index, right? A little bit of a push to the downside on the dollar index. So if you look at this, you can see that it's come down. I don't need this. It's come down and tested that 38.2 level, which also makes sense because we have all those points there, right? So we have those points there. It came down, tested below, and then pushed back up a bit. What I'm anticipating here on the dollar is, oh, where's my Bollinger Band? No, not that one. Where is it? Okay. Yeah. So what I'm anticipating here is that because it came right out, man, we don't need that one for now. Sorry, let me just get that set up properly. Okay. So we've seen that break out of the Bollinger Band. That's why we see it coming back in again. What I think could happen between now, which is 3:17 p.m., and all the way to 8 o'clock, is that we might see the dollar index consolidate or push back up slightly. All right, so it might come up to 101.50. Might see that push up towards 101.50. Then at that point, so we're looking for a retrace. Then at that point, we might see it push down on the news release, right? On the news release, anticipating that it will push lower. You'll see again, I haven't checked this, but 14th of August, when it went from 3 to 2.9, where's 14th of August? Back there. There. Nope, that's 15. 14. Okay, hang on. There, right? So on the 14th of August, when it went from 3 to 2.9, we saw it push up slightly before coming back down again. We need to see what was the news on the 15th that caused that big push up. And then again on the 11th of July, where we saw it go from 3.3 to a 3. That was a bigger drop on the 11th of July. You saw that happen, right? So that's the move on the 11th of July. That's why I actually think that tonight could be some big news event, especially if it goes from that 2.9 to 2.5. Even if it comes out at 2.5, we could see a move like that. Okay, and this was a good move from 104, about 104.90 down to 104.20, a good 70 pip move to the downside. So now again to the current, it doesn't even look like it wants to retrace, right? It's going to consolidate or retrace around this area. Main thing is that I'm looking for it to break down. So whatever it does here, whatever it does, it can do whatever it wants in this area, right? Main thing I'm looking for it to do is to break down from this 38.2 level, break into that trend line again, and head down towards that 100.85 level. Okay, so putting that into words is today being the 11th of September, we're looking at the dollar index I can't spell, consolidating, should stay below 101.50. CPI pending could 2.5% could break below trend line to trade down to 100.80. All right, took a while, but we finally got it. All right, if it just breaks down now, then we're going to look for it to come down. Main thing is that we want it to break below that 38.2, that trend line, to head down towards 100.80, no, 85. That's the first level that I'll be looking out for. And then 100.85, key support at 100.55. Right? And then you could even see it come down towards that 100.55 level But you want to be very, very careful when it comes to that key support level because that's where we've seen it bounce many times, once, twice, three times already. Okay. So that's what we're looking at. Does that make sense? Bounce, yes. Levels all make sense. Good. Okay, I'm happy with that. Hey Richard, how are you doing? Okay. All right, cool. I'm happy with that. Now, with that, looking at the Kiwi, right? Looking at the Kiwi again, that's pushing. We were thinking that it's going to push down, didn't happen. Take that away. 50% holding nice and strong. Anticipating that dollar weakness could push the Kiwi back up, but you'd also see that from this down to here, we have 23, which is just this point here, this area here. Okay, so what I'm looking for at this point, right, that 23, that area here is that price could push up, come back down, maybe not so much. I want to see, yeah, I would only buy it if it breaks above this point, but I think that it's going to do that, come back down, and then have that big upward push. So 6170 would be what I'll be looking for. 6175, I'll give you a bit more space. So I'm looking at Kiwi to the upside, 6175. Stop loss, no more than 20. Take profit, 60 pips to the upside, which is just nice at that 61.8 level. All right, so oops. What am I doing today? 6175. Okay, there we go. So look at it, push down, tested 50, consolidating, trying to push up, dollar weakness is going to push this up. Yes, okay. So we're looking at that sell didn't trigger. We're looking at that dollar weakness coming back into play. So buy 0.6175, stop loss 20, take profit 60 to the upside. Now, on to Aussie. It pushed down, didn't break lower, still sitting in that whole consolidation, 61.8 level. Diana, I have a question. What if price will reach before CPI news? What will be your decision? Okay, so in terms of the Kiwi, I think that if it does push up, if it climbs up over the next couple of hours before the news, two things is that I might not be too keen to get onto it. I'll be more interested in the other pairs. I know which other ones I'm looking out for. Alternatively, is that if it pushes up, then you'll be looking at, I would say, 6185 will be the next point I'll be looking at past that level. If not, then I think that it's not worth to try and force a trade on the Kiwi dollar. All right. And also because, you can see that if it pushes out now, it's most likely going to be outside of the Bollinger Band, right? Or if it pushes out between now to the news, it could move quite a bit. So it's going to be outside, it's going to come back in, then we'll still look for it to push up. That's what I'll be looking out for. Okay, hope I answered your question there, Diana. Now onto the Aussie dollar. Same thing. Very similar. Again, please remember this is all analysis before the news, so the numbers could change things quite a bit. This is the same thing. Yeah, no worries. Looking at that small move down as well being broken, so it's a bit of that channel, right? That channel, how we see price breaking out back up. Dollar weakness is going to push this back up. We'll be looking at 6690. Take profit will be about 60 pips. Stop loss, this time stop loss I would have it about 30. I wouldn't want it too near because I think that you want to give it a bit more space. Right, if 20 wouldn't make sense. It would be it's just right in the middle there. It's just that level, it's just in the middle there. So I would say I would be happy with 30. That's because I have that 61.8 and it broke. You would have also that channel. All right, as it breaks out, you can see the upside move. You could be a bit more adventurous and get in earlier on this, but I think with the news, better to also wait out. So 6690, 30 to 60 to the upside. There we go. All right, buy 6690, 30 to 60. I'm just thinking, I am considering whether you want to go a little bit nearer. But if you go a little bit nearer to 6675 or 6680, then you run that risk of what we are just talking about, that price could reach that point before the news. So I think we can look at that one. Okay, then on to so I'll come to that point. Diana just asked, what if the news is positive, or what if the dollar strengthens because of the news? I'll come to that point. You wouldn't be looking at the Aussie or the Kiwi at that because we have the support level quite near. We have a couple of other things to look at on dollar strength scenarios. Okay, Aussie Kiwi finally it's come down. It's done that, come down, bounce. I didn't get into this because it came down and then it was at that time when I wasn't looking at the charts, and it's pushed up, right? It's pushed up. So with it bouncing off this 1.08, not happy that I missed this move because we've been talking about this. Now pushing back up, what we'll be looking for is if the Aussie dollar pushes up a bit more, a bit faster than the Aussie Kiwi, you would naturally look for it to go up. But I'll tell you that with big news events, what I do prefer to do is to avoid cross pairs. Right? I kind of prefer avoiding cross pairs, especially on big news events. Looking on it, but anticipated to take. Yeah, I I feel like this could push up, but anticipating Aussie and Kiwi to push higher is going to have that conflict again. The best scenario you're looking at is 1.0865. Stop loss tight at 20. It's not worth doing that, right? You're looking at 20 to a 30. I don't think it's worth doing. Even if you want to trade it back down, not the most exciting or most highly probable one either. Yeah, I do think that the Aussie will be stronger. That's why I was looking for the upward push. But if the Aussie climbs more than the Kiwi, it's still going to push up, but it's not going to push up by a lot. It might be capped by this point. So I wouldn't do anything on the Aussie Kiwi at this level. I think that especially when it comes with trading news events, you don't want to be looking at too many things. You want to kind of filter it down so that you know which ones exactly to pay attention to, right? Because when you're clicking across, all these currency pairs on the side, you're gonna get overwhelmed and you most likely miss some moves. So I wouldn't do anything there on the Aussie Kiwi. Then we look at the pound dollar. All right, pound dollar pushing back down, bouncing around and pushing back down. We were thinking that yesterday's employment numbers could push it back up. It didn't. All right, because the dollar pushed up slightly. What you see here is 23.6 holding prices at this point. Do that one. Okay. Now, the question that Diana was, I don't know why you retract the question. The question that we were asking before was, what if the dollar doesn't weaken, right? What if it sits there, or it pushes down slightly, like that? It sits there, or it pushes down to this point, and then comes right back up again, right? On the dollar strength scenario, then what I'll be looking for is that whether the pound dollar we would have is that, right? It's pushing back down now. It's right in the middle, right? I'm either going to be looking for a reaction here or here, right? On dollar strength. I'm not so keen to buy it back up at this point. You see that it's gone big up. It's struggled to go higher. Now at this point, it is either we look for the pound dollar to test and reject, or to sit around this level and then look for it to break to the downside. Towards the next point, a little bit more conservatively, towards that 50% retracement level. Okay, again, this is before the news. Things could change very quickly. That's why we're doing the live session later tonight as well. If you haven't already, and if you want to, make sure you join us on the live session. What I'm looking out for is that 1.3115 test and reject 1.3115, 20 to 60, 70 to the downside, or you're looking for it to sell down 1.3025, 25 to 25 to 55 to the downside. Right? Between these two, which one do I like more? Well, you can actually take that point as well, so that's slightly lower. There's no choosing. There's no choosing between the two. We just have to wait to see what happens on price. Okay, so pound dollar, what I'm looking on dollar strength scenario, we're looking to sell down 1.3115, 20 to 70 to the downside. Well, you look at 20 to 65 to the downside first. 1.3115, 1.3115, stop loss 20, take profit 65. Or you're looking to sell down at 1.3025, 25 to 55. To the downside. 1.3025. I actually think we can go a little bit higher on this. 1.3030, 20 to 60. I think we can go a little bit higher on that. There we go. 20 to 60. Okay? All right. Still consolidating. So now with that, here we go. Next onto the euro. Came down into this area of that support level. Didn't go as low as 1.1, but it came to 1.1020, pushing, showing like it's trying to push back up. Now, again, 50% is holding. I feel like I don't need any of that. I feel like the euro. Oh, by the way, just looking at the euro here, trade of the week video was done, released in the community. You check that out. That's on the euro dollar. And we have also remember that tomorrow we have the ECB with their interest rate decision, most likely a rate cut. So that's going to play a part in where the euro could go to, because there is going to be some anticipation. I feel like any upside move on the euro is going to lead or be a early or give you a better value to sell back down. Okay? Because it's already been signaled. It's already been signaled that there is going to be a rate cut, or most likely going to be a rate cut to come from the ECB. So what you would do is very similar to the pound dollar actually. Push down is sitting around this level. It could push back up, but what you would ultimately be looking for is that it breaks below I think what could happen in the best case, how I would love for it to happen, to work out, is that it sits around this level, right? It sits around here and then pushes back up, tests that resistance or that trend line, and then comes right back down again. So maybe tonight, weaker US dollar, push it back up, test that level, euro rate cut tomorrow, pushes it right back down again. Okay, so with that in mind, what I would then be looking for would be, look at that, a retrace to test that 50% level. I'll take that one there. I'll take that one away. Then we go for that. We look for that to push up. Would I trade this up? Not quite. I'll be looking for a possible test and reject 1.1080, no, 1.1075, stop loss 20, take profit 60 to the downside. Okay, So that's what I'll look out for. 1.1075, 20 to 60 to the downside. Sell at 1 point, well, could retrace to trend line, sell and reject. Then we look to sell at 1.1075, stop loss 20, take profit 60 to the downside. Yep. Okay, good. Then on to the euro pound. It still doesn't know what it wants to do. All right, we had that upward, it's pushed down. We thought, we were talking about this as well, like, oh, it's pushing down. Can we look to sell it down? Oh, well, no, not really can we look to sell it down, but it's pushing down. And then we were looking for it to come down to the support. It didn't do that. It came back down slightly, formed a pin bar. It was outside of the Bollinger Band, came right back in again, very similar to the pound, to the Aussie Kiwi is on a big news event. I wouldn't tempt it with a cross pair, right? The levels would be, as we have, the levels would be there that we're looking at, right? And if you look at this, no, I'm not going to do that one. It's in this area. My best guess on where the euro pound could go to, pound, which is more likely, pound dollar pushing to the downside, euro pound could push up, euro dollar could do that before coming back down. So maybe a little bit of an upside on the euro pound. I don't think it will go all the way back up, but I think that what we could see is a break. How big is this actually? Let me see. This is a 50. It could. It could. We could see this test that resistance. Although I wouldn't be looking to trade it, I'll be looking for it to go up to test that resistance. Then maybe we'll see it come back down again. If you wanted to enter that trade, 8455, stop loss 20, take profit 45. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I don't think it's worth the risk, but that would be kind of a setup that we could be looking out for. We've talked about this through last week, through this week. Still looking for it to break out of that resistance, of that consolidation area. Okay? Now, on to the big one, the favorite pair, right? The US yen. That didn't happen. Take that away. Trend line broken. Take that away. Consolidation in that area. Take that away. Maybe today is the day for the euro pound. We've said that so many times. We've said that so many times. I'm not even going to hold my breath for that anymore. Now, with that, look at this point to the lowest. 50% is right in the middle there. Okay, so that level makes sense. Now, the thing is that, remember, we talked about it. Bank of Japan with their rate hike potential, not done yet, potential, with their JGB's reduction potential, with the US dollar, with the CPI, which could lead to um, rate cut or bigger rate cut on the dollar. The divergence or the disparity between the two monetary policies are narrowing. So that could lead to, or most likely lead to, that downside Look for it to break that support. I think that, I mean, we were talking about this just yesterday as well, that it's bounced off. We've seen it bounce off a couple of times now. It's in this scenario where it looks like it's pushing back down. TSRI is showing a little bit of a conflict where it shows like it might push back up. It hasn't crossed yet. Okay, so just again for everyone who is using the TSRI MACD, you don't want to rush into a trade just because it's touched. All right, you want to see a cross. You want to see it intersect each other before you start thinking that it could push up in this case. Okay, so it could very well just touch and then push back down again. So what I'll be looking out for on the US yen, break. Now it looks like it's going to be a big downside potential. This is on H4 time frame. I'm looking at a possible 139.40 about there. So I'm thinking about that level here. That could hesitate a little bit. It'd be reasonable to look for. So now back to the current. Then with this, on further dollar weakness, on the already pushing to the downside, dollar yen, what you'll be looking for is to sell down 140.70. Stop loss would be 40 pips, should be about 50. Take profit down 130. Naturally, as it pushes down, you move this to break even or secure some profit, and then move that lower to try and ride that move down, because last couple of hours you already got 150 pips. So it could continue down, it could be quite significant, but I think it's gonna sit here for a little bit before we could see it turn back down. Okay, so 140.70, 50 to 130 on the US yen. We're looking to sell at 140.70, stop loss 40, take profit 130. No, not 40, 50. You can do 40, but I think give it a little bit of space at 50. If it does push back up, you could be looking to get out even earlier than that. Okay. Now with that, then onto the euro yen. It didn't go as high, so I didn't get into this. Didn't retrace up to this level before pushing back down, but it did push back down, driven lower by the yen, by the US yen. We take all that away for now. We don't need all these levels. That point is, well, we don't need that either. That one broken, take away. Okay, let's just clear out some lines. We don't need that either. That makes, we'll keep that there. We'll keep that there. Below this point, we're gonna see a massive move down. Firstly there, next down there. Okay, but I'll tell you that as much as we're thinking that the yen can drop, right? As the US yen, we're looking for that downside. I'm also going to give you the flip example or the flip scenario where we're thinking that if the euro dollar could push back up, that could. Then we're talking about dollar weakness, having a bit of a conflict, but it could drag the euro yen back up again, right? So the easy one would be to think that it could break the support at 154.80. Stop loss would be about 60. Take profit 150 to the downside, 160 to the downside. But remember again that when we look at this, the last time it was down here was December last year. So we're going to see very choppy, big spikes and retrace back up again, like what we saw here just in August, 5th of August, with the whole Nikkei unwind, the carry trade unwinding, pushing back up. So I wouldn't be super keen on that selling down. I might actually be thinking that could it push down and push back up? All right, as an alternate scenario, test support, massive strong support there, and push back up. We'll be looking at 155.60. Stop loss will be about 50 pips. Take profit. I don't think. Okay, as much as I'm drawing that all the way up, I don't think you'll get up to that 400 level in a flash. Even when it had that big retrace, it came back halfway before it continued higher. So now I'll be looking at this at about 200 pip move to the upside. Right, so that's what I'll be looking out for on the Euro Yen. Come down, tested support, bounce back up. That would work superb together with the Euro dollar pushing up as well. Then on to the pound yen. Didn't happen or that. Take that away. All right. We don't need that for now because it's still pushing lower. Trend line has been broken. Downside sitting. Look at that. Sitting right on that 61.8 level. All right. Sitting right on that 61.8 level. 38.2 broken. Take that away. Now looking at this, take that away. That makes all sense. Good. In fact, if I drew that to the top, you see it's right at that 61.8. Now, there. Okay. That's all good. That all makes sense. I don't even need that one anymore. So onto the pound yen. Looking at the pound dollar, we're thinking that downside. Look at that. That's pushing down. So I think it's relatively safe to say that we can take that one away, right? And look for that scenario, more likely that scenario. And hence, looking at the pound yen to break that point, 61.8 to head lower. First interim level to look out for is right there. Then you'll be looking at sell down 184.60, stop loss 60, take profit 155 to the downside. You might even go a little bit lower on that. I don't really want it so near. I would say 184.50. I would say a 50 pip stop just being in that area, and then 150 to the downside. That would be brilliant. That would be brilliant. Dragged down by the pound dollar. Okay, then onto the US Swiss franc. Right, so onto the US Swiss franc, what we've seen is that we have been waiting, and look at the dollar trying to push back up. So it's still in that area there. Right, US Swiss franc has been in that area, pushing back up. Take that away for now. Let's come down. So we're anticipating that it will push lower or push higher, but it went down, tested 50, retracing back up. Now at that point, I'm just thinking, could it come up to that point or that resistance? Now, if it comes to this level, then you look for it to push back down, anticipating that move or anticipating this move, right? Consolidate and then break lower. So it might push up a bit and then break lower. Okay, okay. So US Swiss franc pushing up, interim level right there, test and reject. That's what I'll be looking for. Back down. I wouldn't want to buy it up. It's just right in the middle there. So I would say that could we be looking to sell down 8484 20 to 80 to the downside. On dollar weakness, we look for that to push down. Okay, so US Swiss franc will be looking to sell down at 0.8484, 20, stop loss 20, take profit 80 to the downside. Is it too optimistic for 80? No, I don't think so. That's a low there. A test and a reject would make sense. Okay, good. So that's one. Then the next one to look at is the US CAD. We've been talking about this, right? That didn't trigger, and I was, if you remember from a couple of days ago, or even maybe a bit longer, I was saying that the US Swiss or US CAD, the loonie, looking for it to test that 1.36 level to push down. What you see is TSRI MACD pushing to the downside as well. We put that analysis out on Discord in the TSI strategy channel section. So you can check that. That was on H4. What I'm thinking here now is that it's a little bit early because we have the CPI. So we're going to see that reaction along this resistance level. All right. And we're looking at that. Yeah, like that. If that comes down, I wouldn't be ready to say that it's broken that resistance yet or rejected that resistance yet unless it comes down below 1.3580. So we'll be looking at 1.3570, stop loss 35, take profit. You can go 70, you'd say that it comes down to that 61 or that swing level there. So 70 pips to the downside, right? With that point down there. Yep, consolidate in this point. So US CAD 1.3570, 1.3570, stop loss 30, 35, 30, 35, 35, take profit 70, 35, take profit 70 to the downside. Okay. Then look at the dollar. Now onto gold. Worked out very nicely. We had a couple of questions on Discord about gold last night where I was talking about this. All right, if it breaks above 25.07 to trade up to 25.20. So just explaining a little bit more is that 25.07 was right there. The question came in right at that 6 o'clock timing where it was trying to break to the upside. Right, I was trying to break to the upside, and this is why on gold I do it a little bit differently. I just highlight the overall direction and the key levels is because I want it to break 25.07 before I would see the upside move. Um, this time it didn't break, it came back down again. The next moment it breaks and it went up to 25.15. Well, almost 25.15, 25.13, right? And we were looking at 25.20 as a target level. So it came all the way up to that point. You would say it's too late because 25.20 was right there. And also it was outside the Bollinger. So it comes back in again naturally because we know that it's outside Bollinger. It comes back in. Then the next move, it breaks back above 25.07. So this is where you would be looking at, and you got a nice pin bar at a 25.07 level that we highlighted, pin bar rejection to the upside, and that's where you'll be saying that, okay, at that point, now I'm going to look for it to get up to 25.20, okay? Then that's where it went right after it closed above 25.07. It went up, 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 up to 25.20 early this morning, and then continued up, up, up towards that resistance. Very key resistance. Just before the session, I put this into the Discord channel. Big key resistance here, right? We've been thinking about what if the dollar does strengthen. I'm actually thinking that if the dollar strengthens, we could be seeing gold turn back down. Look at that big resistance that has turned back down several times. Now I want to see it test that level again. It's still pushing up. Okay, you see that pushing up. I still want to see it test that 25.30. I want to see a rejection of 25.30 like that to push back down. And you can see that test, reject, came close, came close, came close, came close, right? So it came to exactly the same level that it's rejected down from. Now at this point, all I'm looking for is that it needs to go below 25.20. Yeah, it needs to go below 25.20. No, I'll go a bit lower. 25.17. Right, so I want to test and reject below 25.17. Then I think we have a good chance of it coming back down to 24.85. Not in a straight line, I don't think, but in a zigzaggy fashion. But I think that overall direction, a test and a reject back down. Okay, so gold going to test. Gold, what we're looking for is a retest of 25.30, rejection down below 25.17, could trade down to 24.85. Am I right with my numbers? Yeah, spot on. Okay, so now with all that said, you're most welcome there, Diana. With all that said, please remember US CPI to be released tonight at 8:30 p.m. GMT plus 8. If you haven't already, member only, we are doing the US CPI release tonight and also the ECB interest rate decision tomorrow night in the evening. If you haven't already, the button is there on the join now button or something there. Join us, join the live stream tonight and tomorrow night. With that said, please trade well, trade safe. I hope you make huge profits on the CPI release tonight. I'll see you all. Take care now. Bye bye.